right. Well, first of all, thank you for being here today. There's so many ways to engage with the PCI Council. It's a topic you're going to hear a lot about this week over the next few days. And in our discussion today, you're going to hear about how our Board of Advisors and some of our more active community members interact with the PCI Council in various ways, and how payment stakeholders can really have a profound impact on the industry. You'll also learn how to make your voice heard and then take action and get more involved, and that's something we'll talk about over the next few days as well. And with that, let me introduce our very distinguished panel that we're lucky to have join us. Marie-Christine Vittet is in charge of PCI DSS programs for Accor Group and is also part of our Board of Advisors. Oscar Covers is the cybersecurity analyst at the Dutch Banking Association. He's also chair of the Security Working Group of the European Payment Association. Oscar is chairing the ECPA SWG, and he also participates in the PCI PTS Working Group due to Dutch Payments being an affiliate member of the Council. Tomás Perlines is acting as head of Schwarz IT Payment Security, leading the PCI DSS Compliance Program and Payment Security Consultancy through the Schwarz Regional Group and its subsidiaries. He's also a member of our Board of Advisors. Jeremy King, my good friend and colleague at the Council, he leads the adoption and awareness of the PCI Council standards internationally as PCI's Regional Vice President of Europe, Middle East, and Africa. If you met Jeremy, you know how passionate he is about the importance of our POs being involved. And then Gert Huizinga is a longtime PCI Board of Advisor member representing the European Payments Council. I'm really grateful to have Gert here today with us, since his involvement over the past 15 years has really made a big impact on our industry. So we have a great group today. Let me start with Marie-Christine. As a Board of Advisor member, Accor has been very involved in sharing with others the best practices that your organization has implemented. Tell us a little bit about the case study you did that highlighted how to tackle many of the challenges that you face in the hospitality industry.
Well, Accor is a leading hospitality group. We distribute PCI DSS compliance through our 5,000 locations in more than 110 countries. The challenge is for us to accommodate PCI for our 40 brands all over the world. Our approach is a customer PCI DSS program shaped for hospitality industry. We work closely with a provider called Vittet to customize our specific needs and created the Hotel Compliance Portal. Each hotel must follow this journey and achieve PCI every year. The result is our compliance portal expanded from 100 to more than 3,000 locations. We adapted security policies for all departments dealing with credit card, such as front office in our hotels, but also the same for restaurant, bar, or other point-of-sales locations. You will find this case study on the PCI Council website. It is titled Making PCI Business as Usual in Large Multinational Distributed Environment. We improve even more on the process since this last publication. This is an ongoing process to keep our PCI program accurate, up to date. In connection with this case study, do not miss our presentation tomorrow on Wednesday. It is titled Making PCI a People-Driven Project. We will have a look at the role of people in payment for a merchant perspective. This session is scheduled now tomorrow, as I said, at noon, and more specifically 20 past noon. So I'm waiting for you, having you on board.
All right, very good. I know that case study has been one of our more popular case studies on our website. If you haven't had a chance to look at it, check it out, and make sure you check out the presentation tomorrow as well. Oscar, let me jump to you. As a member of the working group, PCI PTS Working Group, tell us a little bit about what that group has done and what you're most proud of.
Now, when we joined 9 years ago, we still had a national scheme, and we recognized that payment terminals were developed for the international market. So it makes sense to align our national schemes up to international requirements. In the past, we had the most strict security program, but made sense to align our requirements and to reformulate them as additional requirements to the international schemes. And there PCI came to help. That was not only a challenge for our national scheme, but also for our European schemes. So we decided to align all these requirements and brought them in as additional requirements. Today, all these additional requirements are more or less adopted by PCI. So that's a very good achievement. And on the other hand, we learned when our banks switched to the international schemes, the risk that international terminals were less secure was mitigated. So that was a huge benefit. I see that the PCI standards become more and more mature and very effective. In the past, we had some people and process requirements, but today most of our requirements are technical driven. So where we in the past had tamper evidence as a mean to secure payment processes, we now make use of tamper responsiveness. So considering this, I'm very proud of all what we have achieved.
Yeah, and you should be, the PTS working group has done some really terrific work. Oscar, let me ask you, so your focus is primarily on Europe. Tell us a little bit about why the global reach of the Council is so important to you.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's questions for Oscar. So. Yeah.
I understand. Yeah, we recognize that the payment infrastructure does not stop at the national borders, especially if it concerns e-commerce payments. It has a far broader reach. So it is very important for our economy to have a good functioning and efficient payment infrastructure, but which almost does not have any opportunity to fraud. The losses which we suffer today as a result to fraud is always belonging to the older payment methods like MaxStripe-based transactions in point of sale or e-commerce-based PAN transactions. But we see that PCI is paving the way to an efficient infrastructure where we can introduce the more efficient and secure payment methods like the chip and token-based transactions, putting the criminals out of business.
That would be great if we could do this. All right, Tomás, sorry I jumped ahead. Let me ask you. You represent one of the leading retailers in Europe. Why is participating on the board of advisors so important to you guys?
First of all, we have to understand that payments are changing, are rapidly changing from cash-based payments to electronic-based payments. Therefore, security of electronic-based payments is absolutely important for us in the retail industry. And there isn't a better organization to belong to than this one. This brings together the payments industry in a way that is collaborative and productive. I remember my first BOA meeting in Munich in June this year, where we had really intensive discussions about many different topics, many different views, but what came out of that is what we are getting presented in these days. So we wanted to be involved with an organization that understands payments and is flexible to make changes in the payment landscape. We have that with the PCI Council. We can listen to the future of payment security standards in order to be able to quickly adopt them. Being such a large organization, it takes some time to adopt any changes to the last store. So the faster we get to know the changes, the faster we will be able to implement them. And on the other side, we will also be able to shape the future of payment security standards.
Very good. Let me come back to Marie-Christine. You participated in our award-winning Women in Payments series. Tell us a little bit what that was like and why that initiative was so important to you.
Another good topic for me, thank you. An important issue is that we still see today a lack of women in this world of cybersecurity. However, there is a real opportunity for women in the payment community to share their professional experiences and offer advice to other women interested in a man-dominated fields. The story were inspiration and represented an important and growing voice in our community. The series won several awards as represented women all over the world. Of course, this is a joint work that is carried out, but I find that women have more pleasure in telling and sharing these stories and these great successes. It is also what I notice in the culture of my company. Glad to see the series spotlight women from all over the world. This is an international issue, not just one associated with a country or region. I hope that this intervention will inspire even more women to join these exciting professions.
And for those of you that haven't checked out our series, it's on our website. It's something that we're especially proud of at the Council. It's won several awards, and it's a series that we as a community as a whole can be really, really proud of. Tomás, let me come back to you. The world has just been through a really rough time with the global pandemic. Its impact on business has really been profound. What was the benefit of being involved with the Council during this really uncertain and turbulent time?
So the PCI Council was a true leader during this time of uncertainty. The content related to the payment challenges when the world was shutting down that the PCI Council put on was a tremendous resource. Just as an example, we received instructions on how to best clean the surfaces of card payment terminals. It's hard to remember. The other day when I was thinking about what we should discuss here today, I said, did we really discuss that 2 years ago? Yes, we did. I remember many vendors providing us with different materials, many payment terminals getting damaged, broken, just because we were not cleaning them accordingly. So there was guidance provided by the PCI Council. Another example, the extension of the expiration date for 1 year for the PCI PTS3 terminals. We were not allowed to go into the stores and replace terminals. We had to shut down a lot of projects because the stores were open, at least from our side, but just to provide food, not to do some repair stuff. So the leadership of the PCI Council on the most pressing issues highlighted how valuable they are to our industry. And during COVID, the PCI Council was a go-to payments resource during these times of uncertainty.
And that was just a really challenging time because it seemed like every day we were having to address a new challenge that kept popping up as just everything changed, it seemed like, by the hour. Jeremy, let me ask you, what are your priorities in Europe today? You represent the Council in Europe. What are the threats and opportunities in payments?
No, absolutely. Thank you very much for that one, Mark. I think we're seeing payments changing rapidly. We've seen that driven significantly forward by the COVID. And more and more people are now wanting payments to be easy. They want payments to be frictionless. And that is leading to quite a change in the way we do our payments. So not only during COVID did we move away from cash, but as we're coming out of COVID, we're now beginning to move away from the physical card. We're seeing more and more people wanting to use mobile, using the wallets with various payment cards on there so they can choose which one they want to do to make a easy and quick payment. We've seen in Europe the rollout of strong customer authentication, and that is now beginning to have a really positive impact in the e-com fraud fight. Finally, across Europe, we're seeing the e-com fraud figures dropping, which really shows that now that organizations are really having their customers authenticate themselves and show that they are who they really say they are, then we're beginning to identify the criminals. We're beginning to identify the bad actors here, and we can then prevent them from undertaking these payments, which is really, really positive. But we're also seeing the criminals change. They've changed tack. They're beginning to move into the ransomware area. They're beginning to attack areas where they can actually get access to the money. They want a simpler life as well. So instead of obtaining card data and then trying to sell it. They're now using ways to attack us where they can just get the money sent straight to their accounts, and that is another challenge. But behind it, the problem's the same. It's all about data security. So PCI continues to be relevant, and adopting and implementing PCI remains as relevant today as it always has been. And so the new PO program is timed to perfection because it's going to allow Europe and you, our European community, to really help shape the future, not only a future of payment security, but the future direction and focus of the Council. So there's never been a better time than today to get involved with the Council, and I hope that you all will.
And you referenced the new PO program. I just want to encourage everybody at the PCI booth downstairs. We have some really great materials that give some more information about the new program, and I hope you'll get a chance to pick that up over the next few days. Jeremy, I'm going to stick with you. So we talk a lot about all the ways we get feedback from our stakeholders. Give us a little window into how PCI uses that feedback we receive and why it's so important.
No, absolutely. And I think the most obvious of those is the RFC process. When we released PCI DSS version 4, which you're now obviously well averse, having read it over the last couple of months. In the development of that, we ran through 3 different RFC processes. We had over 6,000 comments. 6,000 comments from you, our community, which was amazing. Of those comments, around 60% led to an improvement, led to more guidance, led to a better layout. So that was a massive, really input, a fantastic input from the community to help improve our standard. The same is happening with the MPOC. The MPOC's hopefully going to be released very soon. Again, that last RFC had 400 comments. Over more than 60% of those have also led to an improvement. So your comments make a difference for the whole of the community, which is amazing. But it's not just through the RFC. When I have the opportunity to come and meet you or speak at an event you're attending, I get the chance to discuss with you what's working well, what are the challenges, how you're seeing new technology, how you're seeing criminals attacking you, and that input I can also feed back into the Council. And we also have our special interest groups. Europe, you guys, our community, have been fantastic in supporting our special interest groups. And we have released so many wonderful documents that have been written by you for you that have been really helpful. We also have the task forces and other outreach opportunities. So you are making a massive difference for payment security in Europe, and long may that continue, and please keep going and keep being involved and putting in the comments, because it does make a real important difference. So yeah, you know, we've really been able to move the needle thanks to the involvement in Europe across all the different areas where we can get involved with the Council.
Very good. Gert, you have been on our Board of Advisors since 2008. That seems like a lifetime ago, both in payments and in the world in general. Tell us a little about the changes you've seen since 2008 in terms of European representation and your involvement with the Council.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think the most important one that in the early days there were only a very few number of European Board of Advisors members. It was a real American initiative, which you could see on all the members, and I think that was changed. I think also because of the work, how we could prove that Europe was important, what we did. I think if you look today to the board, it's a very balanced, Europe is very balanced. You can look to this table, but also the people here, available. And what also was very important, we could convince the board that it was very important to have also European representative. Jeremy King here next to me, he was the first European director. Today it's called regional director, I think, and with also more regions, but it was Europe was the first. It also was an indication that it was important to do so. A good example maybe is in those days European Payments Council had the need to also lay back some so-called book of requirements for what's the requirements for the POS environment. We had a lot of scattered landscape with all the different rules for all the European domestic schemes. So we started that initiative, and we would not like to start from scratch, and also not with a white paper. So we had a good agreement with PCI that we could refer to PCI standards, those 1.3, I think, PCI PET, and maybe even 2.0 already. So we had more needs, but as Oscar said, we called it European pluses. And if you look today, the PTS, almost all those pluses are vanished. So we have maybe a few very specific regional things, but also so that Jeremy was invited also in that group as an observer, which doesn't mean that he observed. He was very contributive, but the only thing, there was no voting right, but Jeremy was a very active member, by the way. So that we had a cross-link between the companies, the organization. I think for us that was very important.
And tell us a little bit about your involvement, the work that you've done.
Now, the thing is also, I also got a chance to periodically give an update what's happening in Europe. We had some regulations, but also we are more on chip. If you compare it to where still a lot of even maxed-up signature in the US, we are a lot of chip, so that means also lower requirements or a different use of requirements. Contactless mobile, we had the European Payment Initiative, but which is ended, or at least ended differently, will go another direction that we thought. It could be a new European card scheme, but also that was important, how it could be linked to PCI. And I think also our use of PCI DSS, which could be a little bit different, or at least how to weight it, and that to convince and tell also the board members what's happening and how our European view is. And that was very welcomed, if I may say, to give this update.
Good. Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you. Gert is serving in his last term on the Board of Advisors because he's retiring. And I just want to say on behalf of the council, on behalf of the industry, thank you for everything that you've done for us and for the community. And let's give Gert a big round of applause for all that he's done for us.
Thank you very much.
And so my last question to you is, what are you going to do in your retirement?
I do not have a long bucket list, but I think, of course, there will be some traveling, but relaxing, and hope to maybe get in touch. Next year, Dublin is also a nice location to connect a holiday to it, so maybe I will visit you. And I think hopefully I can stay with the app Pizza and Beer, which I had with Dave from Verifone. We always had a pizza and a beer wherever we went, and with his successor, Joachim Vans, Dave said, Joachim, you have to take over that role. So he took, and now we have a new partner in crime with the pizza and beer, which we take.
That is good. Well, you're welcome back here anytime, but we wish you all the very best in retirement. Some of those photos look like you've had some fun times over the years as well. That really gets me to my last question. You know, one thing we don't ever talk about, because we're always talking about standards and programs, but we don't often talk about the fun of being part of this community. You get the chance to travel to wonderful cities like Milan. You get a chance to make friends. I see a lot of you at the bars at night. I'll see a lot of you tonight, I'm sure, having fun at the receptions. So I wanted this last question to kind of be for everybody, and I'll lead off. Just kind of talk a little bit about the fun part of this community and being part of the payments industry. I know for me, I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world to some of the most interesting places, oftentimes places I otherwise may not have gone. I bring my wife with me, as she will be joining me on Thursday morning. She'll be flying from the States, and we're going to take a few days on the back end tour around the area. But, you know, there's really a fun part to being part of this community. And so I would like to ask each one of you just share kind of a fun story or fun things that you've done that's related to something we connected to one of our events. I'll start with Marie-Christine.
Well, yeah, I have a picture. I chose this picture from Vancouver. You can see the mermaid and the sea plan I like very much, actually. That was my last participation to the PCI community meeting in 2019 for me, face-to-face meeting, I would say. I was with my colleague Pierre. We took 2 bikes to do a sightseeing tour along the seaside and also in some very fashionable town areas. That was great. We visited the Vancouver Biennale Open Air Museum at this time, and you can see a picture of the Giants painted mural by a Brazilian artist. That was very impressive. And this artist has signed something very interesting. Every city needs art, and art has to be in the middle of people. Something to think about. And we finish around a collection of beers, because for me, PCI is also these beautiful encounters.
Yeah, those beers look good. The beer I had in that previous picture was in Germany, and they're like the size of a pitcher in the U.S. They're huge. Oscar, how about you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. What's something fun that you've done associated with one of our events, or a place you traveled that was interesting?
I really did not prepare it that much. It was always fun. It is good to work hard, but the informal community is very important. The top left photo is in Geneva with Gert and with Pierre Sessigneux. In the middle top, it is two from in Genico, where we were on a channel boat. At our most left, it was in Dublin during a dining session. So, all kind of examples where we can invest in our informal networks, and I can really say it works well.
Good. That picture's back in the days when everybody wore suit and tie.
Yes.
Tomás, how about you? What's something fun that you remember from one of your PCI trips?
Oh, unfortunately, I just joined the BOA basically in the middle of the pandemic. So it was fun to meet everybody virtually and to get to know the fellows of the Board of Advisors virtually. It was quite challenging, honestly speaking, also different time zones. Some got up early, others stayed long in the night. But on my first face-to-face BOA meeting in Munich, it was such a surprise to get to know everybody in person. Feeling really, regardless of who is working for whom, feeling like a community, a family with a common objective. And this was definitely something which even went further into the night, getting to know different cultures. What do we do in Europe? What are you guys sometimes doing in the US? How do you treat family? So talking about various different topics without definitely discussing payment security topics. So that was definitely fun. I'm looking forward to the next meetings.
Yeah, the personal relationships and the friendships are really special. Jeremy, how about you?
Oh, it has to be the receptions, the evening receptions. So over the number of European community meetings, I'll just throw a word out there and people will know. Dublin, you know. If you were there in the first Dublin, you remember it. Berlin in the marketplace was another, just so much fun. The O2 Arena with all the music bands back in Dublin for another fantastic event. So some of the European receptions have been just amazing fun, and it's because you guys all make it fun, and I'm looking forward to tonight's in Milan. So yeah, long may they continue. I love them.
I was going to say, tonight's going to be another great one. You don't want to miss it. Gert, how about you?
Yeah, we must not forget the years where Bob Russo was in charge, where he always showed up as a Mickey Mouse or in whatever that environment, which is very fun. The pictures here, you see the Toronto Aquarium, where I was with Bob Russo, and also I think the Boston. I always try to combine when I flew to the other side of the ocean to go on travel on Sunday, do 1 or 2 extra days, do a little bit sightseeing. If you travel that far, why not do that? And so it was very enjoyable. I saw a lot of the world thanks to PCI.
Yeah, I love that photo in the aquarium. That's hilarious. So I hope everybody enjoys the next few days. Look forward to seeing you this evening at the reception. I want to say thank you to the panel and thank you for attending.